Hi, welcome to another edition of the Growing Older with Enthusiasm podcast, and we are dealing with the Winning on Overtime series. Did I say winning on overtime? I meant winning in overtime. Dr. Ron Kaiser, my sidekick Neil Haley, is here to interview me about today's topic, which may be one of the most important ones that we talk about. So, Neil,
Let's
I'll
go.
be
Yeah,
taking
and
it.
then so last week we talked about owning your own body. Now we're going into this, and this is what I like about this is exercise, because the problem is exercise is work. But you gave some great ideas in owning your body that ultimately we can exercise in many different ways. But I think it's important to what you're going to talk about today. That's not enough if you want to win an overtime.
Right. As I indicated, exercise does so much good, not only for you from a physical standpoint, which is obvious, but also from a mental health standpoint. It's good for your brain, oxygenates it, it helps in social involvements, even because there's a lot of things that you can do together with others, from a walking group to participating in a gym to playing some low level team sports, pickleball, things of that nature. So it's really, really important. And I like to think in terms of four main areas of exercise. And we'll get into what I mean by exercising, but four main areas, which include a couple of things that you should be doing on a daily basis. One is stretching. Should be able to do stretching exercises. You can find them online. There are books with regard to it. Whatever level you're at, there are stretches that can be helpful to you, and it's definitely a must before you do more vigorous kinds of exercise. But be careful with any type of exercise, stay at your level until you increase your ability to function at another level, because what somebody who's a hardcore exerciser may be doing from a stretching standpoint is going to be dramatically different from what a beginner will do. So important to stretch on a daily basis. Whether you're going to do any other exercise or not, that's a critical thing. The other thing that I think you can do on a really daily basis is balance exercises. Probably not as necessary to do it daily, but certainly most days, just some simple balance exercises. Be alongside a chair that has arms or a counter so that if you need the support, you can do it. And then try and stand on one leg for 10 seconds. Eventually, you may get up to 20 or 30 seconds, but that will help. Heel to toe walking is another type of balance exercise. A lot of other things that you do for your body will help with balance, but certainly when you get up to be as old as I do, you want to eliminate fall risk as much as possible. Falls are the major uh, cause of disability and even death when you get into some of the older age ranges. So those are things that you should think about. The thing that they have in common, stretching and balance exercise, is that it requires no equipment at all. Stuff that you can do and should do, no matter whether you live in a house, apartment, whether you're inside, outside, requires no equipment at all. Now, when you get into the more, I guess, exercise types of exercise, there are two. One is cardio or aerobic exercise, which includes walking, running, swimming, jogging, bike riding, something that keeps your heart healthy and keeps you moving. So it's great for uh, warding off things like arthritis. It's great for warding off things like high blood pressure and other kinds of heart disease. Um, the federal guidelines suggest 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week. if of moderate exercise. If you're starting out, don't worry about the guidelines, but I'd worry more about the 5 times a week. Do something, take a walk around the block to get started, but build it into your schedule 5 times a week. And then the final one, and one that you shouldn't be doing more than well, 2 or 3, maybe 4 times a week, is uh, resistance or weight training types of exercise. Now, I'm not talking about hardcore weightlifting unless that's your thing, but there are a lot of things that you can do for minimal amounts. You can use bottled water for weights or cans or things of that nature. There are also things like these bands that can be purchased online very inexpensively. I've made a knot so that I can put it through a door, close the door, and use it as a means of resistance training, pulling straight, pulling down, pulling up, and so on. A little bit more expensive are cables that can serve the same purpose but may add more weight. As you can see, I've added quite a few cables, but you start with one. And another thing I might recommend are ankle weights, so that when you do some of the walking, one of the things you can do is add some resistance to it for a short period of time. So these are some general guidelines in terms of some of the things that you can do if we're talking about formal exercise.
Okay. And I think that it's very interesting. If you're a very active person, I'm walking every day. So that's one thing that I'm doing every day. I do resistance yoga. I was doing it with DDP and it's really worked well. But it's interesting. Once you do yoga and you only do a couple stretches a day, it's still, even 3 days a week, it really is so much more better for the body than sometimes weight training at a certain age because you're really stretching, you're getting all your muscles compared to when you go to the gym and you're only focusing on one and you miss out on a lot of things. I think cardio is such an important thing. Well, walking is at times because if you're running, you're really your knees, your ankles, your body only has a certain amount of miles on it for doing that, intense stuff we did in our 30s and 40s or 20s. Because the,
And I mean, those are good points, real good points. And there's good research to back the fact that things like yoga, Tai Chi, Pilates, some of those kinds of classes that you can get online for formal or for nominal or minimal prices, or they're available at gyms and senior centers and so on. But there is good research to indicate that that helps with fall risk. It helps with balance. And certainly that's one of the major concerns as we get older. Um, one other thing that I should point out, if you're new to exercising, you don't need to think of it um, in a real hardcore sense. Uh, for example, I live in an area where uh, my supermarket is two blocks away. Um, if I take the walk to the supermarket, get no more than 2 bags of groceries, walk back carrying those groceries, I've had a pretty good resistance training workout. So if instead of taking the car and doing all my shopping once a week or something like that, if I schedule it every couple of days, that results in again, a pretty good workout. If I vacuum on a regular basis, a lot of the housekeeping chores, I always encourage people to build in more formal types of exercises. Uh, but I think number one, don't sell yourself short if you're doing some of this stuff. You may not need as much as you might think that you need to supplement it. And also, it is kind of builds regularity into your practice schedule.
wow. Yeah. And that's the thing. And you feel better. And that's something, listening to you, I guess every day I go on a walk, I do have a change and refresh at the end of the day after going that walk. And I kind of, or even as I was listening to you, I'm the kind of person, you know what? I'll have, someone else clean. I'm going and cleaning now and doing things and going and vacuuming, saying, what the heck? Because it's giving you that energy. The more you can continue all day, owning your body as you talked about, it's so important. But I think what you're talking about to us is a lot of older adults need to follow these standards. They don't just think they go to the gym. There's those non-negotiable four are so powerful. Do you think exercise is number one? Do you think because it kind of do you think if you did the other three non-negotiable four without exercise, you could win in overtime?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think it's a little bit like uh, in the blue zones, the places where people tend to live to over 100 years. They found in some places that because they regularly walk, they have a real sense of community, socialization. Uh, they drink a glass of red wine on a daily basis. So if you say, well, I drink a glass of red wine every day. I don't have to do these other things. And, I live like the blue zones. That's not the way it works. And, it's, you brought up a really good point because you said you feel better after you do it. Um, I don't know anybody that ever regrets starting some kind of exercise or walking program because they do feel better afterwards, feel worse if they don't do it. And I know that's hard for people who don't exercise to recognize, but it actually takes place that way. And, that is, one of the real key benefits of any kind of exercise or movement program is the way that it makes you feel. And that is one of the things that can ward off depression for many people without having to rely on medication for that.
All right. All we got to do is go to Dr. Ron's website and you just look up Dr. Ron Kaiser anywhere. Friend him on Facebook, join the Growing Older with Enthusiasm Facebook group, listen to his podcast, also the other podcast, Rejuvenaging, and sign up for the email list. So people have to go, they can go when they go to your website, they can sign up for the email list. And that's where it's going to give a lot of tips and tricks and all these different things that you give your members of the mental health gym. You got
Yeah.
a lot of things going. This was such a great. Anything else to add to this conversation?
Oh, I just wanted to point out that coincidentally, though I didn't plan it that way, this week's email list uh, contains kind of as a special report, which I try to add to every one special topic, how you can avoid injuring yourself when doing exercise. So, you know, I hope that more people will sign up because, it's kind of a low tech and zero cost way of helping you grow older with enthusiasm and win in overtime.
All right. That was an unbelievable growing older with enthusiasm as we continue to go through winning in overtime with Dr. Ron Kaiser. Take care, everybody.